urgently, Trump has decisively taken everything into his own hands. He is pressing on Russia's sore spots. Putin's heart skips a beat because of this. Central Asia is drifting away. Moscow is losing its influence. Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan. They are turning their backs on Moscow. And this is just the beginning. Washington is building its own strategy step by step. Russia is fading into the shadows. And it seems for good. All the details about what is happening right under Putin's nose and the speed at which the Kremlin is losing influence, don't miss what's next.
Donald Trump invited the leaders of Central Asia to a summit in the United States. The meeting will take place in the C5+1 format in Washington.
And so we see how the United States and China are trying to divide the world, while Russia does not factor into this equation.
On November 6th, the leaders of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan will arrive in the American capital.
The United States is currently trying to strengthen its influence in a region that for many years
It should be noted that Central Asia is squeezed between Russia and China and is economically dependent on these two large neighboring states. Currently, it is trying to balance its foreign policy, declaring
Of course, cooperation in the field of security. For the countries of Central Asia, this is not just a protocol visit. It is an opportunity, in my words, to balance between major centers of power. And none of these states, not a single one, wants to become completely dependent in any way, neither on Moscow nor on Beijing. And now they are currently showing a willingness to play a more independent role.
President of Kazakhstan Kassym-Jomart Tokayev has already sent Trump a letter expressing his sincere gratitude for the invitation. He called the meeting timely. Tokayev noted that he shares the main goals of the US president's domestic and foreign policy, in particular upholding traditional values based on the principles of common sense, as well as the American leader's aspiration to protect peace and security.
He is also trying to seek out and carefully evaluate a range of possible alternatives in foreign policy, considering different options and approaches that might help address the current international situation more effectively. Kazakhstan could become an alternative to the Kremlin's expressionist policy.
It is reported that Ukraine's invitation was preceded by the arrival in Central Asia of the U.S. Special Envoy for South and Central Asia, Sergio Hora, and Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau.
I don't think this will be a very quick process. We have to understand that these countries have long been within Russia's sphere of influence. And only recently has China, which is a major and influential global power, begun to gradually increase its presence and activities there. However, the United States, considering its various significant capabilities and resources, can, over time, gradually win these countries over. I believe that these countries can position themselves as those pursuing a multi-vector policy, meaning they seek to balance relationships with several major powers. This is a strategy for development and progress on the international stage. And let's say no one here will be able to make any legitimate claims or accusations against them for following such a balanced and pragmatic approach.
This week, members of the U.S. Congress called on Donald Trump to hold a summit this year with the leaders of Central Asian countries in order to advance the United States' strategic goals in the region, including cooperation in security, economic ties, soft power, and effective governance. This will be the second summit in this format. The first one took place in 2023 in New York on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. Right now, Pokrovsk is ablaze under assault. The enemy is attacking from all sides. Putin is putting on a laurel wreath, but it's too soon. Ours are breaking through. Kupyansk is on burning coals. The Russians have broken their teeth. The pressure is insane. The situation is getting more and more tense. The armed forces of Ukraine are standing like a wall. The fiasco of the Russian army is spreading to yet another section of the front. The swampy army is sinking halfway. The video is already online. The Russian command was not ready for this. Ready? The countdown is in hours. What is happening there right now, you will find out next.
Pokrovsk under the Russian flag. Almost all Russian media showed this picture. They just forgot to mention that the tricolor on the sign at the city entrance lasted no more than an hour. Another loud victory turned out to be just a banal PR stunt. As our military reported, the rag was discovered at 9:40, and by 10:40 it had already been destroyed.
When these small groups show up, they engage in flag planting, recorded on video, and of course, then Russian propagandists use this as fodder for Russian propaganda, claiming that they are advancing quickly and rapidly capturing settlements. No, this does not mean consolidation, it simply means presence.
However, in Pokrovsk, the situation remains tense, Ukrainian military personnel report. Deep State reports that Russian forces continue to infiltrate the city, gradually increasing their infantry presence and expanding sabotage and reconnaissance activities. The main objective is to advance at any cost and disrupt Ukrainian logistics.
If we take the broader sense of cover, then the enemy has indeed cut off the logistics route from the west to the north in the south, southwest, and from the west, they have entered the city. Fierce urban fighting is taking place from these directions. From the east, from Myrnorad first and foremost, because it covers Pokrovsk from the east in this shared agglomeration.
At the same time, the news about the Russian flag on the stele in Pokrovsk apparently excited Putin so much that he declared the encirclement of the Ukrainian armed forces not only in this city, but also at the same time in Kupyansk. The Joint Forces grouping denied this information, stating that the bunker dweller once again had to make a fool of himself and repeat lies after his own generals, lies that not even his own audience believes.
We are conducting counter-terrorist operations in Kupyansk and accordingly delivering fire strikes on the flank. And the strikes on the flank allow us to neutralize the reserves that are being brought up along the roads. And in other directions as well, these are highways where there were bridges. Some of them were partially flooded or destroyed. Therefore, at the moment, the ability to bring up reserves has been weakened and logistics have become even more complicated. And we are observing this directly on the battlefield. Of course, and
by the way, about the flooding, the breach of that same dam near Belgorod continues to yield results for the Ukrainian armed forces on the front line. In the Kharkiv region, the water keeps rising and sweeping away everything in its path. In particular, Russian troops still remain cut off from their units. But now, due to the increased flow, the Russian command admits that it's simply impossible to establish logistics. And
those enemy units that are near Ustya Volchya, the Volchya River, which flows into the Siversky Donets, so that's a tributary of the Siversky Donets, the Volchya River, they could actually end up in a pocket. Because the water is rising, it's already rising, it will wash away the pontoon bridges and destroy the crossing that the enemy set up. And in this way, the Russians have ended up trapped in this kind of pocket. So that's what this means for them, what the consequences are for them, and basically all their attempts to advance in the area of Vovchansk, which we've observed over the past week, have been unsuccessful one way or another. They are failing.
the Russian group is also taking hits in the rear. Yes, in the Zaporizhia region, the day before, the main intelligence directorate derailed an entire trainload of occupiers. It is reported that the train was literally packed with military cargo. As a result of the explosion, about 70 meters of railway track were destroyed. Scattered along the twisted rails were 1 locomotive, 3 railway platforms, and at least 9 freight cars from the military train. Another setback awaited the Russians in Crimea. There last night, SPU drones destroyed a Pantsir S-2 surface-to-air missile system worth about $20 million. This, by the way, is one of the key links in the enemy's air defense system. Of the enemy. The enemy also lost 2 radar stations, and after clearing the route, the cherry on top was the explosions at the oil depots in the village of Vardiska and at the Komsomolsky base. Large-scale fires broke out at these sites. Experts say the reason for all this is the continued redeployment of air defense systems from the peninsula.
Of course, the expansion of the defense system. The same goes for Moscow. The encirclement around it comes at the expense of something else, by draining other sites of resources. For now, they are completely drained. The Far East, Siberia. Putin and his generals believe that our drones can't reach there. That's still an open question. But nevertheless, as Russian air defense systems are destroyed, and as the air defense system around Moscow is reinforced, the rest are shifted further away. They won't be able to produce more air defense systems than they already can. If they concentrate them in some places, it means they're simply leaving other places exposed.
And finally, yet another spectacular operation by the GUR in Russia. Our intelligence officers have reminded everyone that not a single Russian crime will go unpunished. And they blew up a lieutenant colonel from the Oman unit. He was the one who oversaw the shootings in the Kiev region during the first months of the war. The deceased, Veniamin Mazurin, was eliminated in his car on his way to work.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
The anti-air shield? For Ukraine, this is a breakthrough. The United Kingdom and Germany are supplying weapons capable of destroying the enemy even before they appear on the radar. In factories across Europe, interceptor production lines are running around the clock. Thousands of missiles are already heading for Ukrainian skies. Enemy Shaheds are falling even as they take off. And this is just the beginning. Our partners have decided to act decisively. What kind of protective shield have they prepared? All the details about this are coming up in the report in just a moment.
Russia is ramping up strikes on Ukraine's energy system and changing its attack tactics. Moscow is launching hundreds of drones capable of bypassing air defense systems and equipped with cameras for improved targeting.
Russia has turned its strikes on Ukraine's energy infrastructure into a systematic operation aimed not just at temporarily damaging the grid, but at destroying the viability of large areas of the country, right before winter. The goal of these attacks is to deprive regions of heat and electricity, undermine industry, provoke mass emigration, and create political pressure on Kyiv, writes The Economist. In
these conditions, air defense becomes critically important. But this year, Western partners are acting proactively, strengthening Ukraine's skies and energy system before the cold sets in.
We are not just now starting preparations for this winter season. We began preparing back at the end of the last winter season.
Already in November, the UK will begin serial production of Ukrainian Octopus air defense drones, a joint project between Kyiv and London designed for rapid protection of the skies from enemy drones and missiles.
Our Ukrainian friends will share their technologies and intellectual property with the United Kingdom, and in turn we will continue to develop them further. And we will produce them on a large scale so that thousands of interceptor drones can be supplied to Ukraine every month, said Elkarnez, the Deputy Secretary of State for the Armed Forces in the UK Parliament.
These drones will become part of a system called the Air Defense Shield. It will integrate Western air defense systems such as Patriot, Iris-T, NASAMS, as well as new mobile units that Germany and other allies will provide to Ukraine before the start of winter. The first drones will be tested by Ukrainian military personnel. If the tests are successful, production will be expanded and some of the drones will likely be manufactured directly in Ukraine. At the same time, the UK government is expanding its multi-purpose missile production program. It is planned to deliver 5,000 units of this weapon to Ukraine to strengthen air defense.
We are also announcing an expansion of the production program in the United Kingdom to provide Ukraine with 5,000 new multi-purpose missiles. This will create new jobs in Belfast and other cities, as well as strengthen Ukraine's air defense for the coming winter.
At the same time, European allies are increasing their support for Ukraine's energy sector. Germany and other NATO countries are mobilizing resources from air defense missiles to assistance for the energy sector so that Ukraine can withstand the winter and resist attacks on critical infrastructure.
Germany has already paid 390 million euros. We agreed on another 30 million this summer. But today I want to announce that we will provide an additional 30 million. And then we will invest it. Thus, we are providing a total of 450 million euros. This money will make it possible to purchase the necessary technical equipment to help save Ukraine.
In addition, the EU is preparing a winter support package for Ukraine. On top of the 3 billion euros already provided, a new guarantee of 800 million has been added for the emergency purchase of gas. This was reported by the EU ambassador to Ukraine, Katarina Maternova. The aid includes repairs to power grids as well as the supply of generators and transformers.
We have also provided and continue to provide significant assistance in the energy sector. Not only with generators for people and businesses, but also with transformer and compressor stations to help restore power grids, gas distribution networks, and compressors that supply gas and storage facilities that have been distributed. We also provide financial support to state enterprises and major energy companies for the repair of their equipment. We also supply more than 2 gigawatts of electricity per day.
Thus, support for Ukraine this winter is reaching a new level, from advanced air defense systems to resilient energy supply. And whatever the Kremlin may be planning, Ukraine, together with its allies, is striving not just for tactical success, but for a strategic one, to withstand the cold, to preserve strength, and to maintain the ability to defend itself.